All right, I think we're live. Gonna go with it. What's up, everybody? For Friday action, we are the Slate here on DK Live. Coming at you for the next about 30 minutes. Gonna go just past, I think, 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll talk a little sports. It's a little bit of a weird weekend in sports. You know, like we got, it obviously is a nice golf tournament there. Tiger Woods right on the cut line. Actually, maybe we'll touch on that at the end. We'll do a little Tiger update. But then, you know, it's the NBA All-Star weekend. There's no football for the first time in forever. And I don't know, but then there's like the Daytona 500s around. So there's things going on. It's like, it's not things that we're used to. So to join me in this like sports escapade here on Friday, I brought in Matt LaMarca, my guy who, you know, is probably really getting set for the MLB season as well. That's around the corner. We'll talk a little MLB futures actually. That's always interesting. And we'll touch on NBA futures as well. But to start off, Matt, how you doing?
I'm wonderful. Yeah, baseball coming right around the corner. Spring training is always like, you start to get a little bit of butterflies. You know, for me, baseball is still a big part of my life because I'm such a diehard Mets fan. So
Yeah.
I'm looking for all the updates. I want to read, you know, who's in the best shape of their life, who added an extra mile an hour to their fastball.
Oh, yeah.
I'm into all of that. And of course, Jacob deGrom, you know, as much as I love the man, already feeling side tightness for the Rangers. So welcome to your new normal, Rangers fans, where every time Jacob deGrom throws a pitch, you have to hold your breath.
All right. So there you go, man. I mean, already that stuff's happening. When does MLB start? Is it?
It's usually right at the end of May / beginning of April.
End of May. Okay.
I'm sorry, end of March, beginning of April.
Yeah, okay. I was like, those don't jive. I was gonna say beginning of May, but that sounds way too late because it's way too long a season. So yeah, end of March. Okay, that makes sense. I'm excited. I'm kind of excited for MLB too. I'm gonna be betting it this year, which is gonna be a disaster. I think I'm gonna post the results on Twitter.
It's a different type of betting sport, but I enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like I typically bet like almost exclusively underdogs.
Right.
And because there's no point spreads, it means that your win rate doesn't have to be nearly as high as it does in other sports. You know, you can, if you're betting just underdogs, you can survive with a sub 50% win rate, which I think is very attainable, but it also means that you're going to go through some stretches when it feels like you can't win a game. So it's a humbling sport, I think, at times, but it's one that I enjoy.
Yeah, it's got some similarities to NHL in that regard. But I used to bet MLB like 5 or 6 years ago consistently almost every day. So, but I just haven't followed the sport for like 4 years. So I'm gonna get back into it. It'll be fun. Anyways, we'll talk about MLB futures a little bit at the end. But let's start off here by, you know, I mean, look, it's football. The season just ended. Who cares? Let's talk a little bit of football. There's still stuff going on. Like Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, obviously going to be dominating the news cycle here for a little bit. So I guess we just got word like before the show, Carr is visiting the Jets. You're a Jets fan. I mean, I think we both are in agreement here. The Jets are actually a pretty good team at this point. Like, I mean, from what I saw last year, I think that they're in a position next season to potentially win that division. I really, truly believe it. You break down the AFC East. The Patriots I don't think they're going to be good enough. The Dolphins have major Tua concerns. That could just blow up at any point. And then you have the Bills who, you know, we saw Cincinnati bully them around a little bit. Like, if anything, you know, is that team just a little bit, is it a little bit overrated at this point? Are they going to go through a little bit of regression here for a season? I could see it happening. I think the Jets are very interesting in that division. When that gets all settled and the division odds are out, I'm going to be very interested in where they sit. But what is your take as a Jets fan? What do you want them to do at quarterback here? Because I don't want them to sign Derek Carr. I really would like to get them to get Aaron Rodgers or maybe even explore the draft or something. Derek Carr, to me, I don't think it's going to get it done.
I agree. Derek Carr is the worst possible outcome, in my opinion, because you're going to pay him like he is a franchise quarterback, and his numbers last year suggest that that's not the case anymore. I all the time when I come on here, I harp on, the easiest way to be a bad to mediocre football team is to pay a subpar quarterback like he's elite. And I think that's kind of where Derek Carr is heading towards at this point. So if I was the Jets, my move would be you go hard after Aaron Rodgers. And if that doesn't work, you just run it back with Zach Wilson.
Yeah.
And I know that that's a scenario that most Jet fans will hate. They do not want Zach Wilson to take another snap for this team. But the Jets do kind of have a history and a track record, at least in my opinion, of giving up on quarterbacks too quickly, right? You saw Geno Smith kind of get his first real shot since the Jets benched him, and Geno made the Pro Bowl. Like he had a pretty good year. And could that have happened if the Jets had given him a little bit of a longer leash? We'll never know, but it's possible. Sam Darnold, again, is Sam Darnold good? Would he have been the long-term answer for the Jets? Probably not, but he did help the Panthers. He went 4-2 down the stretch with them. So I think that they have just been very quick to give up on their quarterbacks. And, it's tempting, right? You look at the rest of the roster and it's like, man, we're ready to compete right now. We need a quarterback who's going to make us better right now. But the thing is, eventually, all these guys that the Jets have that are on cheap contracts have to get paid. And if you have a quarterback that's not good enough to support, without all the elite talent around him, then you just end up right back where you started. And it's kind of this big cycle that the Jets go through every 4 to 5 years. So I would really, if I can't get Aaron Rodgers, I would be willing to just ride this thing out for one more year with Zach Wilson and see where it gets us.
I agree. I mean, overpaying for a mediocre quarterback, like you said. I mean, just look at what the Commanders did last year with Carson Wentz. You do not want to do that. You don't want to be the Colts with Matt Ryan, who basically sunk their team. It was a good team, too.
Yeah, I think the Vikings are like the best case scenario of overpaying a mediocre quarterback. And Derek Carr is not Kirk Cousins, right? Like I think Kirk Cousins is probably like right around the 10th best quarterback in the league. Derek Carr might be closer to like 20th at this point.
After last season, I mean, it would be hard to argue with you. I think Derek Carr's had his moments, but like I didn't like what I saw last season at all. Maybe it was a Josh McDaniels thing, but like you're gambling on that. If he's hit the floor, if he's hit like the kind of cliff, so to speak, like Carson Wentz did, wow. That's so much capital down the drain. And again, like the problem with the Vikings too is, okay, Cousins, not bad, but like you don't have money now to spend in defense. So there's a lot of problems with it. I would rather see them like draft another quarterback, like try and find a guy in the second round than sign Derek Carr. So yeah, I'm it's funny because I'm more watching to see where Aaron Rodgers goes, because I think that the team that gets him could be a serious contender, but I'm more watching to see where Derek Carr goes because I'm probably going to want to fade whichever team decides to spend up for Derek Carr next year. So I think we're in agreement there. Let's just talk on the futures. I mean, is there anything that jumps off to you right off the bat? This is to me how I approach futures betting at this point in this season, or how I'm going to approach it anyways. If you like a favorite here, like I kind of like the Bengals at plus 1,000, but I'm not going to invest in the Bengals right now because to me, nothing's really going to change much about the Bengals. Maybe they go down to plus 900 or something. Fine. I'll take them a plus 900. What I want to see with the Bengals, make sure they're healthy going into preseason, then I'll jump on them. But what about teams further back? Is there a team there, Matt, for you that like you might see yourself getting in on? Maybe it's the Jets, maybe it's someone else, or a team that you think like between now and say like next August that you could see a precipitous drop in odds.
Yeah, I think that we're basically in lockstep with how we approach futures at this point. I'm just trying to get as much closing line value as possible.
Yeah.
And so, again, the team, I talked about this team on Tuesday. I'll rehash it again real quick, but the Bears, to me, at plus 8,000. They are way down on the board, fourth longest odds. And I think if you look at this team, they have a lot of really interesting things that they can do this offseason, right? They have nearly $100 million in cap space. They have the #1 overall draft pick, and they can potentially flip that into multiple assets from a team that wants to trade up for a quarterback. You have your own young quarterback, and I think if anyone out there could make a, Jalen Hurts type of leap next season, it might be Justin Fields. So you bring in another pass catcher for him. You beef up the defense. And I could see the Bears being very much this year's version of the Jaguars. They play in a pretty weak division, especially if the Packers are going to lose Aaron Rodgers. I could see a scenario where the Bears get into the playoffs this season. And at 80-1 to win the Super Bowl, you don't need them to actually win to potentially make money with that ticket. You can then look for some hedge value if they do end up winning the division or getting a wild card spot. So I really like that number. I think that they are a candidate to close pretty significantly lower than that.
Yeah, I mean, just sticking with that division, I kind of agree. Like their number sticks out. I mean, you asked like plus 6,000 with the Bucks or plus 8,000 with the Bears. I mean, I'm going to take the Bears there, especially with the bigger odds. So it's probably even a couple other teams you could point out there where I just don't think the odds make sense. So yeah, I like that one. I think realistically in that division, the Lions too, obviously the odds are, we're talking like plus 3,000 versus plus 8, but the Lions, they got cap space, they got draft picks. All they need to do is shore up the defense, man. Like that's it.
They've got the offense, no doubt about it.
So, I mean, yeah, you have a little bit of Jared Goff concerns, but I mean, plus 3,000 is still a really nice number. And I see that number potentially getting down further as people maybe start to clue in. Maybe the draft goes by, they pick up that defense, and then they get a little bit of heat. So I think the Lions are a team that could like actually make a long run. I think the Bears, and look, NFL, anything could happen. The Bengals were like at plus 10,000 at one point 2 seasons ago in the offseason, and they made the Super Bowl. So anything could happen. But I think that division particularly is right because the Vikings are not going to win a bunch of games. They got a division leader schedule to deal with now. And the Packers, who knows? The Packers could be good. They could be really bad next year.
Producer Eamon just dropping in our little chat here that the latest report is that the Packers are disgusted with Aaron Rodgers and that they are done with him.
Oh, wow.
So it seems unlikely that Aaron Rodgers will be the Packers quarterback next season.
Yeah, I mean, just here, you know what? Let's pick up. I think we have the Aaron Rodgers odds. Where do we go? Off-season specials. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers. So, I mean, I talked about it this morning. My guy Pierce kind of liked the Packers at plus 300, but I mean, I like, to me, the Packers, I think they really want Jordan Love. Like we're into year what are we in, year 3 or 4 of Jordan Love? This is it, man.
4,
like,
I think.
You've got to take advantage of like the one more cheap year you have left to find out what's going on. You can't drag this out any further. I think the Packers are done with Aaron Rodgers. That report certainly confirms it. And even just from this morning, Matt, the odds on the Jets, they were 250 this morning. They're 150 now. So things are happening here. Don't maybe people are betting it, but I think it's more just potentially some inside information there. So
I mean,
anyways, Jets,
how could he not want to go to the Jets at this
how
point,
could he?
Right?
I mean, this is what I said this morning. You really need a darkness retreat to tell you that you don't want to play with Mark Davis and Josh McDaniels for a full season. Like, how are you even contemplating the Raiders? So the Jets and Aaron Rodgers make a lot of sense. Interesting times. Anyways, I think that'll be a really interesting move. So, and again, that speaks to now, you may want to jump on some of these Bears or Lions odds as well, because once Aaron Rodgers leaves, people are going to start to notice. So, anyways, interesting talk there. Other team we don't need to talk about too much. We got the Jags at plus 2,800. So yeah, that's another team we could talk about. But anything else to touch on for odds, or do you want to head over to like maybe NBA?
I would just be wary of some of the trendier teams, right? Like everybody is going to want to bet the Jaguars at this number, but the Jaguars went from playing essentially a last place schedule to now they're going to have to play a first place schedule. And they went from having basically an unprecedented amount of cap space to now they are, I believe, like have one of the lowest cap figures in the league. So I just, outside of Trevor Lawrence making the leap to superstardom, which is certainly within the realm of outcomes, right? I'm just not sure where the Jaguars get like markedly better next season.
So I completely agree with you. The Jaguars are going to be a popular pick, but I do recall back, like the Eagles were kind of a popular pick for a lot of the same reasons last year. And my thing with the Jags is I do still think they're a little bit long in the odds. Like, I mean, I look at the Chargers down there plus 2,200 and even the Ravens at plus 2,000. The Jaguars are in a division where the team with the biggest odds against them are the Tennessee Titans at plus 7,500. So, like, the path here is not difficult for them to get back. And maybe they struggle a bit, but even if they just win that division, I still feel like they're a little bit undervalued. But you're right. It's what you call a crowded bet. It's going to be a popular pick. It's not like me saying the Jags is going to be like outlandish, kind of like it was last year. But I still think they're a little bit undervalued. So we'll see. That's a number I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on. Again, don't have to make a ton of decisions right now. We're still early. But if you're going to be betting something, Matt made a great point. Jump on some of these lines that are going to dive at some point because the favorites lines won't move too much unless something catastrophic happens. So, all right, let's jump to NBA. I mean, I don't even know what they do with NBA weekend. I saw they put up the dunk contest, and there's like 4 guys I've never even heard of before. Do you know who these guys are for the dunk contest?
So Max McClung has literally never played an NBA game. Jericho Sims is the Knicks' 3rd string center. Kenyon Martin Jr. is like the 6th or 7th man for the Rockets, who might be the worst team in the league. And Trey Murphy is like a 3-point specialist for the Pelicans.
Well, can you tell me why they do this? Like, why are these the contestants for the dunk
I'm sure
contest?
that this is not what the NBA wants, right? I'm sure the NBA isn't like, my first call, it's going to be to Max McClung. But they're really just, I don't understand why there has been such a stigma of star players doing the dunk contest. Nobody wants to be labeled as like just a dunker, right? I think you look at like a guy like Vince Carter or Dominique Wilkins, and these guys were probably underrated historically for what their overall game was about.
Yeah.
Because the only thing people kind of remember them for is their dunking ability. Right. But then at the same token, Michael Jordan was a dunk champion. Julius Erving was a dunk champion. Yeah. Like I do think that for as much as it might maybe hurt guys like Dominique, I think it definitely builds the allure on some of these other guys too. So I don't understand why people are so reluctant to do it. I mean, if you're a guy like Zion Williamson, I get it because there's no upside. Either you win or you lose and it's embarrassing, right? But like some of these other, less pedigreed, lottery type picks, I don't understand why they're so hesitant to get in it.
Yeah, that's my thing. Like there should be a couple young players too, especially who are out there just kind of, want a little bit of spotlight. And like, look, I mean, okay, maybe you're known as a dunk specialist. There's some players who wouldn't even get known, right? Without being in the dunk contest. So I don't know. Yeah, seems a little strange that they can't get a bigger talent pool. Do you have any bets that you'd be making for the 3-point contest or anything like that you want to give us, or should we just go to like the futures?
Yeah, the 3-point contest this year is pretty weird. Like all the guys are priced pretty compactly. The guy I'm leaning towards is Kevin Huerter at plus 550. I think he is just kind of the definition of the shooter that I'm looking for in this contest. He's like a standstill, knockdown 3-point type of shooter. A guy like Damian Lillard is great, but he's creating off the bounce, Same for guys like Tatum and Halliburton. And I do think that smaller guys are at a advantage against the bigger guys. A guy like Larry Markkinen, who's 7 foot tall, it's just more work for him to bend down and get the ball each time. And as much as that may sound ridiculous when we're talking about professional athletes, that bending down and picking up a basketball is more strenuous. Like, there's a reason why big guys typically haven't fared well in this competition. So I think Herder fits the sweet spot of like, I think the odds are pretty good, and he just fits a lot of the metrics that I'm looking for.
Yeah, it is a weird field. Like Randall and Tatum as well. Some bigger dudes in this. You don't see it very often. I guess you're seeing it more and more, but
yeah, Towns won it. I don't know if it was last year or a few
it was
years
last
ago,
year because I think I did, for some reason I came in as a joke to do the NBA segment for the All-Star weekend, and I was like, you don't need to worry about Karl Anthony Towns winning this, as like my one hot take, and then he won it, of course. So, but yeah, Herder, Halliburton there plus 550, plus 600. They would probably be the dudes to look at. Anyways, some nice longer odds there.
Again, though, kind of an uninspiring field, right? Like,
yeah, it's
the
more
3-point
inspiring
contest,
than the dunk, that's for sure.
for sure. But like, we've had, the Steph Currys and the Klay Thompsons of the world in this event in recent years, and without those guys, it just feels kind of naked. And I get why they're not doing it, but obviously Steph being hurt, but it kind of feels weird without them being there. Like, this is almost like the JV version of the event.
All right. You want to do a quick and anything that maybe want to point out to people that you're into for NBA futures? Then maybe we'll touch on a little bit of golf live here and call it a weekend.
Yeah, I'm still sticking with the Cavs as my futures play, my long-term futures play at plus 3,000.
I mean, again, as someone who doesn't bet basketball every night and just hasn't looked at like NBA odds in like probably 2 weeks, I'm surprised that the Cavaliers are plus 3,000. That seems long.
Yeah, they're the second best team in basketball in terms of net rating. The Celtics are first. They're outscoring their opponents by 6.2 possessions, or 6.2 points per 100 possessions. Okay. Cleveland is second at 5.8. And then the drop off to the Nuggets, who are in third, they're at 4.5. So the gap between the Celtics and the Cavs is pretty thin, and then it's a pretty steep drop off to the rest of the league. But the Celtics are priced like the overwhelming favorites to win this year. And the Cavs are available at a pretty massive discount. So I like this Cleveland team. They check a lot of boxes. They play great defense. They have a go-to crunch time scorer with Donovan Mitchell. They've got some depth. So I like this Cleveland team. I think 30-1 is just too long for them. So I'm definitely getting some exposure there. And I'm also looking at the Clippers in the West at 9-1. I've kind of been saying like I need to see it from the Clippers before I'm ready to believe it again. And we're starting to see it. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard are playing. Yeah. They're playing big minutes. And Kawhi in particular has been outstanding over the past month or so. Yeah. And I think we all forget how good that guy is if he's healthy and playing at the peak of his abilities. So with the West kind of looking wide open, who knows what's going on with Golden State. Phoenix obviously adding Durant was huge for them, but I still think that there are multiple teams that can win the West, and the Clippers have put themselves pretty firmly in that discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that one too. Actually, that's something I'd get behind. Kawhi too, just in the playoffs, man. He's got it done multiple times. So that's an interesting one. It's funny because as someone who bets NHL, I've seen the exact same thing with Colorado, and the Celtics remind me of Colorado right now. 3 years in a row, it was just like you couldn't bet them because they were so bet down. And yeah, they were the best team, but it came to playoff time, like anything can happen. And it did for them for 3 straight years before they finally paid off. So, again, the Celtics best team, absolutely. But like, man, they are bet down there at plus 275. So interesting. It's like one injury away to one of their big players, and, things can even out quickly. So interesting there just to look at the odds. I hadn't done it for a while. So yeah, Cavaliers definitely stick out there as well. So okay, let's just see what's going on with the golf here quickly. I mean, Tiger Woods right on the cut line. Cool story. Unfortunately, I think he bogeyed his last hole to get to +1. So it's going to be tight. It's going to be a sweat. See if he plays the weekend or not. Hopefully he does, because I mean, there's already hilarious stories coming out of there about stuff that he was handing Justin Thomas. But I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, I'll leave it at that. Right now we got Colin Morikawa plus 400. He had a nice round this morning. John Rahm's right behind him. Rory's up there too. Homa's fallen down a little bit, but he's still up there. So these are the guys who've kind of been dominating golf to start the season anyways. Looking down, I was talking about Victor Hovland right off the start of the show. He probably hasn't done much because he's at plus 3,500, but you got a bunch of names down there who could potentially make a move still on the course. Hovland, Lowry, Adam Scott's down to plus 8,000. So no one really making moves. I mean, if you're betting, I'd almost wait till the end of the round and see if it gets a reset, see if the odds get a reset. We have seen players make some moves here over the weekend, but and it's a tough course to make up holes on. So
as a betting or golf novice, I will say, like, is it weird to see a guy like Keith Mitchell leading the field but only 5th in odds? Like, is that something that you would see on a regular basis?
Yeah, and this kind of field, absolutely. Just because the quality of players behind them are so good. So
right.
Yeah, like someone say like yeah, I mean, just Morikawa is going off. He went off around 18, 20 to 1 at the start, whereas Mitchell was more in the 80 to 1 range. So, the books kind of make up that difference. And we're only in the second round too. So like if this was the final round, Mitchell would probably be like a co-favorite because there's only one round to go. But he's got 2 rounds, so to speak, to screw it up. So and he's being chased by more than one elite player. So
right.
Yeah, I think that if these were the odds after the 3rd round, I'd definitely be interested in Mitchell. He's a pretty quality player. He's already won. He's got a really strong off the tee game. I think he'll win again on tour. But yeah, at this point, I probably want even a little bit longer odds than that to really think about him. He's just got so many big names coming after him on the weekend. So see where he's at after Saturday. But for now, yeah, you'd be kind of buying the top there. So
it does seem like the scoring conditions have gotten a little tougher as the day has progressed, right? Like
yeah,
the cut line has dropped from even to +1. Some of these guys who are at the top of the leaderboard who are still on the course, like Homa is 1 over today, John Rahm is 1 over today. Like it just seems like scoring might be trending downwards. So
yeah,
I think that's another point for my man Killer Keith.
It is. I mean, like the guys in the clubhouse are where I'd be looking at. Even like the guys who are behind in the clubhouse. I mean, I don't even think betting Morikawa plus 400 is terrible here. He's a really quality closer.
Yeah,
he's not going to wilt over the weekend. He's probably going to be within a shot or two at the very worst Sunday in the back 9. Plus 400 is big. Like, Rory's a couple shots back. So for a guy who's like, up there, I'm saying it's big. You can make the same argument for Mitchell. Like I said, I'd probably want a little bit bigger than that, but you could also look at players who are finished, who are already in there. Potentially a guy like Figala down the board to make a big move. He's got it in him. But yeah, for the most part, if you're betting a guy on the course right now, as Matt just said, it's tougher conditions, so don't expect big moves. Maybe better to wait till the end of the round. So, all right. I think that's it, man. We covered a bunch of different stuff, dunk contests and the weird lineup. Anything before we go? Got big plans for this weekend, man? Watch Daytona?
No, I have no plans. I'm going to be enjoying a sports writing free weekend.
Nice.
I might play some poker. I'm actually debating maybe a little Atlantic City trip next week. So, thank you for the NBA All-Star break.
I'm in the same boat, just without the poker. I'll be playing, like sledding with my kids, but I will be definitely looking forward to taking like a bit of a break this weekend. So, all right, guys, we'll be back next week with a ton of shows, though. The Sweat, 11 a.m. Eastern. You can catch us 5 days a week, Monday to Friday, at DK Live on Twitter. And obviously, the Slate will be back Monday afternoon as well, 5 p.m. Eastern. We usually kick off between 5:30 Eastern. So, yeah. You can follow this guy at Matt LaMarca on Twitter. Give me a follow at The Fantasy Grind. Have a great weekend, dudes. And we'll see you soon.